Unfortunately or fortunately, when you're coaching, and I love spring ball, yeah, you lose your voice sometimes, especially when you gotta say the same thing over and over and over. But let's go, rock and roll. Who am I looking at? This, or what?
Whoever
I'm confused. Okay.
A lot of cameras in your face.
All right.
What do you love so much about spring ball?
I love the fact that you get to see the younger guys that haven't played much get an opportunity to learn the system, show us what they have to do, what they have to give, I should say. See how far they've come along. Try to find out what our depth chart is. You know, if you know certain guys can play, they've played for you a lot of football, but you get to see who can play for you, and then the scheme. You know, teach them the scheme more. And then the best thing about spring is that there's no games, so you have a non-consequential offense or defense. You know, it doesn't matter if you give them a touchdown, you just go to the next play, and if they fumble, throw an interception and go to the next play. Now we don't want those things to happen, but it's kind of a break for coaches where it's not the stress of a weekly schedule to play a game. So that's about 4 reasons.
Good one.
Plus I get to get home early and see my wife. It's another reason.
It's probably the best.
All right.
You mentioned young guys, that you're getting to see play at the linebacking position specifically. It seems like there's a lot of guys like that, at least that maybe fans on the outside haven't seen play a lot, with the exception of Oseko, obviously. What have you seen out of that group, and what young guys have stood out there?
I see a bunch of guys really working hard to learn the system. Unfortunately, one of my virtues is not patience. Okay, they say patience is a virtue. I think there's another virtue that, hurry the up, is a virtue. That's the virtue I like, okay? So anyway, what have I seen? I see young guys flying around, trying to learn the system. It's taking them a little while because there's a lot put in and a lot going on offensively. But I'm pleased, and the reason I prefaced preceded what I said with the patience being a virtue is the fact that they've only had 6 or 7 practices. Some of those guys really where they haven't been on scout. So yeah, I need to give them a little bit more leniency and give them time to learn it. But it's not my virtue. I got the other virtue. All right.
Oseko, how important is it for him to be the leader of that group, since he is the veteran, he is the one guy that's obviously started a lot of games?
It's always extremely important for your veteran guys to show the young guys how it's done, how you practice, how you work, what you do, what it's all about. So he's extremely important in that regard, as well as Tony Washington and Taylor Hartz and guys like that, Wade Kilakipi. It's all that kind of stuff that's important. We have to learn how to practice, and I don't mean like we're not practicing well. I'm just saying we have to learn how to practice hard and fast, because that's what we do when we play a lot of guys. So that's a lot of rambling. Go to the next question.
Tony's stepping in for Dion. Obviously, a guy who's going to go in the top 5 of the NFL draft. How important is that position for you guys, and how important is it for Tony to be able to give you at least a little bit of the production that Dion did?
Tony will do just fine. Tony Washington will have a great year this year. Now, I'm a realist, okay? If I'm losing a 1st or 2nd pick of the draft, it's pretty hard to replace that guy. So Dion Jordan played a lot of great football for us, and he's a great football player, and I wish him all the best. Actually, I wish he was still here. If you're listening, Dion, come back. E.T., phone home. But anyway, Tony will do just fine. But you're not going to replace a Kiko Alonso or a Michael Clay or a Dion Jordan. You are going to replace him, but you're not going to replace him with an NFL player. You're losing NFL players. You got to have a guy that has some time to grow in the position. But we'll figure that out. 8 of the 11 positions are back. So when I look at the defense, I say I got 8 pluses. There's 8 positions where I put a plus by it. There's 3 positions where I put maybe a circle or a minus by it, if that makes sense. But 8 of 11 are awesome because they're all the same guy, so they better be better. That's why they got a plus. Now, the other 3, somebody's got to pick it up, and somebody will. That's why I love spring.
Dion, are you surprised at all that Dion has risen so high on the draft? I mean, now a couple of mock drafts have him 2nd, people mentioning him maybe even going number 1 overall. Does that surprise you at all?
Nothing about Dion Jordan surprises me. I just hope that you never know what the draft really is, and you can't believe all the hype and all the talk. And because I care about Dion Jordan, I hope he goes very, very high, and I hope he doesn't have to go to New York and be one of those guys that's sitting there with a camera on him and doesn't get picked when he thinks he's going to get picked, because that's not fair to any young man. You know, don't invite him unless you know you're going to pick him.
Whoever's smart, if there's any smart coaches out there in the NFL,
pick him.
When did you know that Dion was going to be as good as he was?
Probably the first day he came over to defense and ran around just like Dion does.
Didn't take very long. I knew there was a learning curve
for Dion as far as learning the system, but not very long.
You could see the great ones
right away.
Some guys take more time, but you could see the great ones
right away. Kind of like Jordan Kent.
You mentioned the production you're going to miss with Michael and Kiko being gone. How difficult is it to replace their leadership?
It's extremely difficult in the sense that when a team relied on basically the three guys we lost, including Boyette, but we didn't have Boyette at all last year, Jordan. So, you know, but the four guys we lost were probably our greatest leaders. We will have somebody step up and lead. I think Wade Kelakepe, Taylor Hart, Tony Washington, Avery Patterson, Terrence Mitchell, we'll have some guys step up. But that leadership and those three guys, I have the utmost respect and have a great feelings for those guys, not only as football players but as people. And when you lose a good guy, as well as a good football player, that's hard. Okay, they're the total package. So they led by example. They were great teammates, great leaders. We need to have somebody else step up, and it seems like every year somebody does.
And last year with injuries to the secondary, to the defensive line, it really seemed like the linebacking core was consistent, sort of the backbone of the defense. Do you see a position that's really going to be the core of the defense this year?
Well, I'd have to say right now where I have most of those pluses are the D-line and the secondary.
So those two groups should be solid. I mean, our DBs, we didn't lose anybody. Like I said, no disrespect to John, but he wasn't here at all. So we didn't lose anybody. And in the D-line,
That's why the mics are so close to your face.
In the D-line, we lost Isaac Remington, so we didn't lose a whole lot. Anyway, that can give a woodpecker a headache. Okay, anything else?
Fair to say your expectations for the secondary, because like you said, you have so many veterans back. Expectations rise for those guys to got to be even better, be even more than.
Absolutely. Secondary's got to step up, and they will.
I like our kids. We got some pieces of the puzzle that we got to replace and bring along, but
that's what 15 days of spring are, and then we still have summer with them working out, and we still have, fall camp, and I don't know how good we're going to be, but the guys that are getting on the field are going to run to the ball and give great effort, and they're going to be mentally tough, they're going to be physically tough. So whoever those guys are, just hopefully they're ready for that challenge, because that's who's getting on the field.